for time which you were not working on it, you were sitting idle, or it was just lying in the queue waiting to be picked up, or maybe you had a dependency on somebody where you were waiting on approval or some kind of information. Those times are non-value adding times because you were not working on them. Nothing was getting processed. So they are non-value added time. Okay.
Shuchi, just a question over here.
Sorry?
I have a question over here.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So in Kanban, we can easily identify lead time and the cycle time. But if you talk in the term of Scrum, I have a 3 weeks Scrum, and something is there in the product bucket, and we are not taking it in any of the sprint cycle. So lead time can be infinite for that particular task.
It cannot be infinite, obviously,
No,
but
it's
yes,
not
the
that
lead time will.
infinite, but it can be a significant time.
Yeah. So lead time continues. That's why you always in Scrum we say, even though in Kanban also we call it. That's why backlog grooming is needed, right? So that the lead times doesn't continue to increase and we are losing on the project. You need to keep revisiting your requirements for the same reason, that you pick them on time and you start executing it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. The next concept is called pull and push. How many of you know what is pull and what is push?
Push is the assignment of the task. Someone assigns you, that is push, and pull is taking yourself, pulling the completing the first task and then pulling the second one for yourself without
Right.
any.
Pushing is my manager comes and tell me finish this off, Shuchi. Pulling is I go to my manager and say that okay, I have a bandwidth. Can I pick up some work? Do you have some work for me?
Yeah, pull is basically self-organizing. The teams would
Yes.
self-organize themselves and pull the work from the board as soon as it's prioritized. Push is basically directive.
Yes. So basically, Kanban enables pull system, right? Because since your system will become so visible, right, you would know what is coming next, right? Who is working on what, and obviously, meri plate maybe what's lying in my plate, I would get that visibility. So by default, in some time, people become so motivated they start pulling the work, right? So you must have heard that agile is a journey of from doing to being, right? Starting mein ho sakta hai you guys would matlab anybody who is implementing agile, Kanban, so whatsoever, might need some redirection, but eventually when they start working on it, they become motivated and they they start feeling the ownership and start working on it. So it's a journey of from doing to being. Okay. Okay. So now let's take an sample workflow. If you look at this workflow, which is a very basic, typical IT kind of a scenario where collect ideas is nothing but the customer wish list. My customer keeps on telling me that I want to implement this, I want to implement that. Then a POC happens, or there is a a validation that which happens, and you start putting them in the backlogs. Once a team is available to work, they start picking up basis the priority, basis the fund approval, basis what needs to be implemented first, dependency tracker, everything. You start pulling on the work and then you start releasing the features or user stories, right? This is what typically happens with me so far.
Yes.
Right. So अगर इसको मुझे Kanban के form में डालना हो, so this was something which will look like, so stories is nothing but the wish list that my customer has given me. To do is my approved requirements, which could be which have been funded, which have been prioritized, which needs to be completed first before the other work. Then in progress is something which my team is already working on developing, then testing, and finally the done. So done stage is where my work is getting released, right? So to create a Kanban board, the first thing that you need to understand is your workflow. If you don't understand your workflow, right, it is next to impossible to create your Kanban. The visibility that we have been talking since slide 1, that will never be achieved if you don't understand workflow. This workflow creation would also include that how my systems interact with the other system. For example, same in the same example, if I talk about, when I talk about fund approval or the validation, it could be the same doing team who could be doing a validation, but the fund approval might be coming from the different teams, maybe PMOs or maybe the seniors. So we will have to identify all the if else loops which are there to, you know, visualize what exactly goes into the system. A lot of times what happens is while we are creating our workflows itself, right, we start identifying that this needs to be improved, right? So for example, let's say while creating this workflow, I figure out that for fund approval, it needs to go to my PMO, and my head of PMO sits in US, which is again a time difference happens. So probably to improve that, you would start, having to reduce that time frame, you might come up with some pseudo person who can do a approval for you, or maybe you start having a alternate date discussion with the person to make sure that ek bar I identify 10 things and give it to them and team can continue working on them, right? So you will start coming up with the processes. Okay, this is a place where I take a lot of time, my team takes a lot of time in getting the approvals and all that. So once your workflows are being created, you actually start identifying a lot of improvement processes or a lot of improvement areas where Kaizen needs to happen. That's why never jump onto Kanban board creation directly. First, create your workflow, which is also your value stream, and identify all the systems with which your current system is interacting, and create a detailed process. Okay. Once this is created, once you have complete workflow identified, basis that workflow, come up with the final Kanban board. The reason of doing this is because in progress, while you are developing, there could be multiple teams or multiple people which would be working. So for example, um, my current team is only working on UI, but there could be another team which is working on DBA. But as a team level, I am not interested to have the work visualized. It's just that I would want to know कि वो DBA से मेरे पास काम कब आ रहा है, right? So you might not want to have the complete information within your Kanban board, but you might want to have interactions between the two Kanban boards. Got it? Any questions?
Oh, thank you.
Anybody else?
No, we are good with this.
Okay, great. Okay, so now since we understand how to create a basic Kanban, let's understand what's Kaizen. So Kaizen is nothing but a combination or amalgamation of two words: change for good, right? So Kaizen is nothing, it is not a process, it is not a tool, it is nothing, but it's just a mindset shift of improving continuously, right? Uh, and why we need to improve continuously is because there is nothing which is perfect, right? We always have some scope of improvement. Chahe a small improvement is only leading you to a 10 minute of time saving, but every time saved is a penny earned, right? So you need to improve, and every process that you undergo, right, would have some scope of improvement. Now, why you should improve? Let's take out your pen and paper. Let's play a game to see how it works. Can everyone have their pen and paper?
Yes.
Ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you please draw metrics like this on your pen and paper? It's a 3x3 matrix. Done?
Yes.
Okay. I will give you instructions now. What I want you to do is draw whatever instructions are coming your way on in this 3x3 matrix. Okay, I repeat. I will give you instructions. Basis that instructions, you need to draw on this 3x3 matrix. ठीक है? Let's get started.
Yes.
Okay. So the first instruction is draw letter X in the center box in the left column. So the left column hai, you need to draw letter X, and X should be drawn in such a way that the X should fill the box touching the intersection, sorry. Move to the next instruction. I'm repeating, draw letter X in the center box of the left column. In the left column, the X should fill the box touching the intersections. Okay, next instruction is draw an upward arc from the top left intersection to the top right intersection. I know it's confusing.
Yes.
Draw an, that's okay, that's what the game is. Draw an upward arc from the top left intersection to the top right intersection. So basically, the second box that you have on the first row, you need to draw an upward arc which from the top left intersection to the top right intersection. Next instruction, no questions, just do what I am saying for now. Okay, next, draw a downward arc from the bottom left intersection to the bottom right intersection. Draw a downward arc from the bottom left intersection to the bottom right intersection. Next instruction is draw an arc from the top right intersection to the bottom right intersection. Keep drawing, keep drawing. We'll come back to whatever you guys have drawn, even if it's confusing. Draw an arc from the top right intersection to the bottom right intersection. Next, draw a circle for the eye in the middle of the right grid line. Draw a circle for the eye in the middle of the right grid line. Next instruction is draw an upside V for a fin in the middle of the curve in the top central box. I am giving you hints also. ये क्या बन रहा है? Draw an upside down V for a fin in the middle of the curve in the top central box. Next is draw similar two V's spaced evenly apart on the lower central curve. Draw two V's, V as in victory, V for letter V, spaced evenly apart on the lower central curve. Next is draw a curve from top left point of the X to the bottom left point of the X to from the tail. Draw a curve from the top left point of the X to the bottom left point of the X to form a tail. Second last instruction is draw an arc for the mouth starting at the bottom right intersection must be a happy fish. Draw an arc for the mouth starting at the bottom right intersection must be a happy fish. And finally, draw 4 circle of bubbles, 2 in the middle, 2 in the central right box, and 2 in the top right box. Can I have your cameras on and can I see what you guys have drawn?
It's very confusing.
That's okay. That's what the point is. कैसे maximize कैसे होता है?
You see
Can
it?
I?
Yeah.
Okay. Can more people show me what do you have drawn? Suresh, I saw that.
You, maybe
Wow,
you should have consolidated everything and said draw a fish.
that was the next step, right? Okay, let's do that then. Draw a fish. Now in second section, दूसरी जगह पे draw a fish. Can you show me how you have drawn the fish?
Can everyone share their screen so that I can also take a picture?
Okay.
My
So if you would have seen, even after saying ki draw a fish, none of the fish is drawn same. Neeraj, did you draw?
Yeah, sorry, but I was going to ask you what fish we are supposed to draw. So
See, even
when you
after
said draw
saying
a fish, what fish? I mean, there's so many
okay,
kind of
piranha.
fishes.
Please draw a piranha for me, Neeraj.
All right, give me a second.
Even then, it will not be same.
Yeah, I need to remember how a piranha looks like.
Okay.
Once again, can everyone show what you have drawn?
Okay, that lower one is my piranha. I don't know if you can see it. It needs to be a little more bulkier than that, I think. Were you guys able to see that? The
Yeah.
bottom
Yeah, yeah.
supposed to be a piranha. I was remembering.
Okay. Okay. If you look at it, while I was giving an instruction, tab to it has gone completely haywire. Even when I am saying draw fish, none of the fish is same. Somebody has drawn a whale, somebody has drawn a piranha, somebody has drawn a very cute baby fish kind of a thing. Even though I didn't say draw a scale, some of you have even gone ahead a step ahead and drawn a scales and everything, right? So the point is, even though the two set of instructions were completely different, in one of the instructions I just said what is the output I want, and in one I told you how to go about it, what I want to draw. Right now, if you look back at these instructions, you will understand somewhere these instructions were making sense. But then, even though these instructions still make sense, there is a better way of writing it. Right? There is a scope of improvement in these instructions. Now, what I want you to do is spend 5 minutes. It's 2:42 in my watch, and write your set of improved version of instruction. I have, you can see the instructions on my page. Spend 5 minutes and write your own version of improvements here. How I could draw a fish better, or how I could give you instructions to draw a fish better. Can you do that? Yeah? Time starts
Yes.
now.
Can you share your screen with the set of instructions?
It's already there on my screen. Can you see it?
No.
Yes, it's there.
Yeah.
Okay. Spend 5 minutes, and I want all of you to individually write your own improved version of these instructions. So the instructions should be still drawing of a fish within 3x3 matrix. Half time up. Two minutes left. Last 1 minute. Okay. Would somebody want to read the first instruction change that they have done?
Yeah, I can read that.
Yeah, please go ahead, Dheeraj.
So we are assuming that we have the grid, right? I don't have to mention
Right.
that on
No,
the grid.
no.
Okay, so form an arc from the first box of the grid in the center all the way toward the center of the last box.
We lost you, Neeraj. Actually, there was a echo. I couldn't. Sorry.
Yeah,
Can
I'm having some issues. Okay, so draw a grid from the center of the first box all the way towards the center of the top and last box.
Okay.
First and third. Just
Yeah.
draw a
Okay.
grid all the way, like a curve.
Okay. Okay. Any other? Somebody else wants to
I
read
mean,
the
I
first?
have the same instruction for the bottom also, but I'm not repeating that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shuchi, I would like to go.
Yeah.
So I have written draw a C in the middle of the grid. So if we have to add that step to say that you have to draw a grid, so maybe we can add another step before this, which says draw a 3x3 grid and start from the center. And then we say draw a C in the middle of the grid. And then you want me to read the other steps?
No. I'm just what I'm trying to understand is that everybody has their own version of the even for the first step as well that we have given
Yeah.
here, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
there is an improvement, but their improvement, everybody has their own version of improvement. So it is very important that whenever you talk about continuous improvement, everybody in the team is involved, and it goes through a good brainstorming session. Now, since you guys have done it in silo, consider if you guys would have done it in as a team, the instructions would have been much better formed. As while you were doing it in silo, everybody has their own improvement version, is what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
Right? So there is always a scope of improvement. Now, what Neeraj or Rakhi have said, I am sure there would be somebody else who would say, no, this is not a right instruction. There is a much better way of writing it, even if they can be improved. So improvement, there is always some scope of improvement, even if, you give a final output or you maybe give a step-by-step scope of an improvement, everything would need improvement. Even when I said draw a fish, the first question Neeraj asked me was what kind of a fish you want, right? When I said piranha, the another question could have been what is the size of the fish you want? Do you want it a black and white fish or you want it a colored fish? So there is a scope of improvement, and there is as much as this detail can be added to howsoever you want it, right? So even when you say it was just a small example of just a fish, imagine when you are talking about your project scopes, how much improvement is possible. With me? Now you know why you need improvement? Because a lot of times, even when we talk to small kids or maybe while we talk about improvement, since it involves some kind of a change, a lot of people have a lot of resistance. But this is one of the very good examples to showcase them that if this fish drawing can have improvement, imagine what is the level of improvement you can get into when you are talking about your own project. With me, any questions so far?
Yeah, I have a point of view to share.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So basically, I have written in such a way that I've completely rewritten all the steps, combined into one single step on say what is the required output instead of saying how. Because the steps that you just showed, right? It was like mostly into how, right? So
Right.
I kind of skipped away from that, and I said what would be my required outcome, and I just left the how to the person who is implementing it. That's other way of looking at the same, looking
That's
at it
another way
at a
of
different
looking
point
at
of view.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes, that's an absolutely.
Yeah, and also I kind of agree because I'm an agile practitioner as well. So I kind of agree on the collective wisdom that you're looking at, because when we involve multiple minds, we take the collective wisdom into account, and then the improvement is 10x faster than we if individuals as silos we come up with this improvements, right? So there's
Right.
a lot of changes. The example is Toyota. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's move ahead. So these are another examples which people usually come up with. So we saw some of these kind of outcomes as well, but actual output that was looking at, or maybe as a customer I had in my mind, was this kind of a fish. But obviously people, if somebody is an artist or a creative person, might come up with something like the one on the left side, or maybe somebody very basic would come on with something like this. But again, everybody has a different perspective of looking at a fish, unless it is elaborated or maybe there are improvements in the instructions which are added. Okay, so this is, I just changed the first two instructions. This was one of my example, but I think we have already done that, so I'll skip it. I didn't change all the instructions. I just changed the first two instructions, but obviously, as I told you, there would be somebody from the group who can debate ki, Shuchi, what you have written. I still can change the first instruction. So as I said, Kaizen is a continuous process. It's a journey. There would never be a situation where you can say that I have achieved Kaizen. There is no more further scope of improvement. Okay, so can I combine Kanban with my current process? What do you guys think?
Yep.
How?
Yeah, I'm having internet issues. I think I said yes.
Yeah.
We heard it 10 times, Dheeraj.
Anybody else who wants to answer this question? Can I combine Kanban with?
Yeah, I think we can.
Okay, and how?
That's what I was expecting from you. So,
I have already answered that question, but any
yeah,
thoughts?
if we can identify what is the current flow in our current process,
Mm-hmm.
and probably we can start it from there after identifying the current flow. And
Okay.
following some of the steps you just shared in the initial slides.
Yeah. So basically, if you see in the first initial slides when I was introducing Kanban, I never spoke about Kanban changes something. I always spoke about that Kanban is a way of introducing visibility in your current workflow that you are following, right? We were we when we talked about workflow or your value stream, we talked about describing the current workflow you are using to implement something or to achieve something. We never spoke about that bring this change first and then this is what you need to do. So the basic difference between Scrum and Kanban is this only. When we talk about implementation of Scrum, we first talk about bringing in certain changes, be it your project role, we would want to call project manager, we want to call them Scrum Masters, business analyst change into product owner. But Kanban says that start from where you are, right?
Right.
It, Prashant, you have a question there? Okay.
Uh, I request all of you to be on mute except Shuchi. Yeah.
Okay, so we always start from where we are. We never talk about bringing in any kind of a change, be it rules, be it your processes. What we do is the only thing we start is to understand the current workflow, the current way of implementing things or current way of achieving something. So if you remember, while I was talking about a workflow diagram or maybe how to create your workflow, I was only talking about understand what goes into your system currently, understand how your system is interacting with the other systems currently, right? And when you start understanding the current process, the improvements by default start to happen, right? So Kanban will never ask you the best way of implementing Kanban or the pure Kanban that we call is to start from where you are, understanding the current work that you are doing and add visualization. Because a lot of times what happens is if you go at a team level, they would not even know from where the requirements are getting generated. They would just know at a story level that this is what they need to do, but they would not know the history behind why this requirement got generated or from where this requirement came. A lot of time people don't have that visibility. So Kanban only says that just don't ask people to do the work, tell them why they need to do a work, and once people start to understand the why part of it, the improvement will by default start to happen. Okay, and once you start understanding your current system, the next step is to implement work in progress limits, right? So now as a team or as a team member, if you have 10 things to do, start prioritizing them and start picking up one or two or three things at a time. As a recommendation, we always say pick two things at a time. Okay, so this is how you get started with your Kanban implementations. Any questions?
So just a recap. So are we saying, say for example, I walk into an organization where the team is already working in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Before trying to say, let's do this, let's do that, we need to try and understand what is the existing process and what is the existing workflow, and then slowly introduce the changes by baby steps.
Yes. I think that's not the change that you introduce, it's the improvement
Yeah,
that you.
yeah. I mean, whatever is required, if an improvement perspective, whatever the
Yes.
things that
Yes.
need it. Yeah.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other question?
Shuchi, Prashant here. So,
Yeah, Prashant.
one question. So, when we are creating a value stream, so value stream will be more of a in a diagrammatic form in some process flows, maybe visual diagrams or some other way. So, how to
Sanjay.
convert those into a Kanban? So, maybe if you can give some example, like take a smaller value stream and put it into more of a pictorial way. Kanban.
Uh, mm, okay. I did, though we did look into it, but let me just quickly show you one. So look at this value stream. This is a very basic value stream where we are saying collect ideas, validate and sort deliverables. This is a column where we are saying this is something we have agreed that we will change, right? Pull deliverables when ready. This is what my team has started working onto it, and finally I'm releasing. This is a very, very basic, bird's eye view, 1,000 feet away kind of a view of any typical delivery system, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So in this case, the way this has been converted into Kanban board is my stories section is something. Obviously, please don't go by the naming convention, but just understand the crux or the flow. My stories could be something which is my wish list or something which my customers are asking, right? To do could be something which I have agreed to deliver and they have been already validated, right? Okay, these are the things which need to be delivered and I have already prioritized them. Third is in progress, which is again something that I have picked to deliver. Then testing, I'm testing them, and done is I'm releasing that. Okay.
So, more of a this I guess this diagram or this representation looks good from the perspective. If I'm talking about the requirements for the user story, I might have 10 user stories. I could divide that into to do, in progress,
That's what
testing,
I
done.
said, Prashant. Don't go by the nomenclature that we have used stories to do, but just visualize it from a perspective that this is how the Kanban will get structured. Because,
Okay.
yeah. So this was a flow that we have identified, right? So it is just that don't go by the words. So stories could be my epics here.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah,
To do
okay.
could be, right?
Yeah, fine. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody?
I mean, if can I add to that?
Please go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're going to say something. Please feel free.
Perhaps you're going to add to the same vein, but I have a different question, so perhaps you should complete first.
All I was going to say was, I mean, whoever asked the question about value stream mapping, you just map that process in Kanban from left to right, the flow. So it's just a mapping to just to add to what Shuchi said when she was showing that collection of ideas versus, towards the end of the release.
Yes.
That's exactly what you would do. You'll just map your process on the board and visualize it and give it whatever headings you want. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Sure.
Arun, you had a question.
Yeah, I did, yes. You'll have to give me the benefit of that. I don't come from the same background. So I'm just trying to get my head around, if I were to have probably a BPM visualization and say, this is how the process works. And I chose probably a flow chart to show, this is how the process works. This is the input. This is the output. At any juncture, at any point in time, this is what the outcome looks like. And that feeds into the next one. How is that different from me choosing Kanban?
Okay. Let's look at, in your case, let's take an example of a ServiceNow thing. Would that help?
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So a ticket comes your way.
Yeah.
Right. For me, that's the customer's wish list that they want to do this. Right. Your team picks it up and starts working on, or maybe just acknowledges it that we have received the ticket, and basis the SLA will start working on it. Right. That's my to do that I have identified it, and I will do it. Since it's P1, P2, P3, P4, I will ignore it.
Okay.
Right. Then team starts working on it. It's in progress state. It's my in progress. Right. And then it goes to the production team or whatsoever for deployment. It's under the deployment stage, and then finally it gets delivered to the customer, deployed.
Okay.
So this is a typical workflow for my ServiceNow. Now, but if you have to look from a ServiceNow perspective, till the time you don't go to your dashboards right?
Right.
You would not know what ticket is lying in what stage, and you would not know from how long a particular ticket has been lying in the particular stage till the time you don't come up with the apt report.
Correct.
Right? But in Kanban, what will happen is you will not have to create a dashboard. You will not have to create any report. It will just be a visual system where your tickets would have all the information. When was that logged and when did it come into progress? And you would get to know every information while looking at it. And who is working on what. There could be scenarios that one of the team members who you call a superman is working on 10 tickets and another guy is just sitting with 2 tickets. So even that kind of information can get visualized with the Kanban flow, because aapne ek bade board pe you have created everything. So once you look at it, the need of creating the dashboard and reports has nullified actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So yes, your ServiceNow workflow is basically a workflow that we are talking about, or a value stream that Prashant just spoke about. That's the value stream basically.
Okay, got it. And thanks for putting that in perspective. Thank you.
Yeah. Any questions?
Such a quick question from me. This is Suresh. So are we saying, so say for example on the service now, we got 10 tickets that we're working on. To visualize those 10 tickets or the life cycle or the process of those 10 tickets. Are we saying we need to draw a separate Kanban board elsewhere, or is it something which we can see from the same tool?
ServiceNow unfortunately can't give you a Kanban
unless
ServiceNow has been integrated to probably, let's say, Microsoft Azure DevOps.
Sure.
Right, and all the tickets, or maybe your Jira or something similar, right? Then you can. Otherwise, ServiceNow will not be able to give. Or other thing that you can do is you can have a physical whiteboard in your team area.
Sure.
Yeah, but
that's
COVID times, since we don't have, so maybe you might have to use some tool to integrate it, or maybe a Zapier integration with the tool like Trello, which is freeware.
Sure. So all we are trying to do here is, we know the existing flow, and we know the tickets are flowing from one end to the other end, but because we can't physically see them visually, we are bringing them into life by putting on a Kanban board.
So I'll give you an example. A lot of you might have a habit of noting down what needs to be done today in a diary.
Yeah.
Right? When we note down then in a diary, and while we are doing it, if I think, let's say 10 things, there are 10 things to be done. As soon as I tick mark 4 things, what is the feeling you have? You feel very motivated. Oh God, today I did these many things, So this is typical of morale thing as well. Once you are giving a visibility to your team members that there was so much of work, and this much of work you guys have done, or an individual has done, team feels self-motivated. A lot of times what you do is, while prioritizing the work, you pick up low-hanging fruits. Right? कि चलो 10 करने, उसमें से 6 are the ones which are smaller and 4 are the bigger ones. Let's first finish off the 6 smaller ones. Right? A lot of times that visibility also adds to a lot of motivation as well.
Sure.
Right? Obviously, Kanban is just not about this. There are a lot of things which I can talk for good 5 days, of course, but just to keep it crisp, I'm just giving you the basic aspect of what Kanban is about.
Yeah. So on as a base thing, what we're saying is bring life to the current flow by making it visual on a board.
So don't let your team work under the table.
Yeah. Sure.
Because if we can't see it, a lot of times things skip out of our mind. A lot of times we miss the deadline because, oops, we forgot it. We couldn't see
it. Not visualize it.
There was no visualization. So it's just that add that visualization. Even if you are able to solve this much of problem, you'll be able to, speed up your processes to a lot of extent.
I want to share my experience here on this. Since we are touching about the tools and process side. So I'm an agile coach basically. So one of my clients whom I was trying to coach, we had a typical problem to solve where we were using a service now, and the tickets have been raised there, and the incidents are very much there, but there was something missing. The tickets are flowing. It's not that it's people are not looking at it. People are looking at it, and it's been assigned. We had a typical, kind of an SDLC process, like how we use for software development. We had a typical incident management system where someone would look at it and do the triaging and assign it to the teams and all those stuff, right? But there was no single dashboard view of what's happening. And it was always depending on one person, how if that person is absent, if the person is not looking into the queue, and that's gone, right? Nobody is going to take a look at it. So we were not, the issue where like there was no proper visibility or transparency to the management and how this is being handled, right? So what we did was basically we created, I don't remember the plugin that we used, or it could be a simple program that we used to pull out all the incidents that's been created. I think it's a batch program which runs every couple of hours or something, depends on the frequency that as you need. So it pulls out all the tickets or incidents that's in ServiceNow, and it migrates to Jira. And we designed a beautiful Kanban board to make sure that all tickets that's been created in Jira flows into a queue called validation queue. Okay, so someone will validate it, and it could be basically a combination of business and tech would quickly look at it as soon as it flows into Jira, and then it is validated. It goes into to-do, right? And once it is to-do, it is the team who has to make sure that they take a look at it. It comes into the team's attention once it is to-do, right? That's the agreement. And once it's in to-do, then after which would be we had created a bunch of columns as we customize. I don't want to elaborate everything, but just to give you a view of how we did it, we had a showstoppers and blockers. So anything in to-do which is a showstopper and blocker will definitely move into showstopper and blocker swim lane. Basically, that's what we call, right? Swim lanes. And then those swim lanes will be given attention, immediate attention by the team. If there are no blockers or showstoppers, then it goes into the next set of queue or the swim lane that's called WIP. Under that, we had subcolumns like P1, P2, P3, right? And we would also assign a name to each of the name would be assigned to each of the P1 tickets the team is working on. So this board eventually gave a complete view of, without anyone looking into a ServiceNow or any incident management tool, this particular visualization board that we designed and created and customized for our client gave a complete view of how many tickets have been logged for a day, and how many have been validated, and how many have been in queue for the team to pick up, and how many have been showstoppers and blockers which requires immediate attention, which has been already taken up by the team, right? And how many of the other work in progress items where the teams is currently looking at. And it was giving a very good view where we can reprioritize stuff, because that's the beauty of Kanban, right? You have WIP, so you set up, you reprioritize. If there's something comes up, immediately a showstoppers team is working on P3, they stop working on P3, immediately it goes back to the to-do, and the one in the swim lane called showstopper or blocker will be taken up, pulled by the team immediately, right? So this is just for a team to give you an overview of how we manage things. Thank you.
That's very helpful. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't get your name. Thank you.
I'm Karthik.
Yeah, thanks, Karthik. Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
So just a reminder, like we are just left with 15 minutes.
Yeah, we are almost done. If we are left with some time, I'll quickly also show how we have done how I have done a Kanban implementation and how Kaizen flew through that. But let's just quickly have a look at the benefits, and if somebody is interested, they can stay back and I can just quickly walk you through one of the case studies that I have. So benefits, since we are talking about visibility, bottlenecks are highlighted, and you can remove the bottlenecks. Uncertainties, there are no uncertainties since you get visibility of what is coming next and what is getting delivered. So there are no uncertainties. The customer knows exactly what is coming their way. If Kanban is being implemented for a manufacturing environment, I am just implementing a Kanban for a pharma manufacturing unit, and you will not believe, when I started with them, the first thing that they told me was the beauty of their organization is they don't have any work in progress inventory. They don't have any WIP, right? Whatever they manufacture, they sell. And by the end of the first month, they realize that they have 75,000 of same medicine dosages lying in their warehouse, which they were not even sure of, and they were almost about to get expired. Right? So that's how you start showcasing the visibility. And just for the question, if somebody has key, how did Kanban help them identify the old WIP which was there? So what we did was we started migrating the historic data as well. And what I started doing was using Kanban, started comparing amount of order and what was getting delivered actually. Right? And what they were mistake they were doing was they were not accumulating the original leftover order. So let's say there were some 100 tablets left in one order and there were 200 or 3000 tablets left from the other order. They were not doing a cumulative thing. Right? So when we started implementing Kanban, they realized that there were good amount of medicines which was lying in their inventory, and they could market them to some other customers as well. Since we talk about process improvement from a human resource point of view would also introduce a leftover bandwidth where you can do another fruitful things. For example, you can engage a team in cross functional trainings, you can engage team in training them or maybe improving their existing skills or something, or maybe you can pick up more work. So again, as I said, any time saved is money earned. So freed space can help you improve the skills, again, which is part of your Kaizen, right? Uh, since we are not multitasking, we are reducing the WIP. We limit our WIP. We work in a focused manner. So for example, we take more time in doing 10 things with a reduced quality. But if we are only focused on one thing, we do it with a better concentration and we deliver a good quality. And that's why things are fast as well. That's a human thing. Even being a I think lady, and since I'm cooking too much these days, the only cooking examples come to my head. If I'm making 10 things, I would mess up one or other thing. But if I cook one or two things at a time, they would be better prepared and they would be, more tastier. Right? So again, limit WIP, don't pick up too many things in one go, limit the amount of work you can do. As I said, as a human psychology, we can only do two things maximum with a good quality work in one go. And since we are talking about improvement, waste reduces, which is your non-value added product. Then you become more predictive. As I said, the system becomes more predictive. You know what is coming, what is going out. Also, you understand how the other systems that you are interacting within the environments, how are they producing. So for example, let's say you have to implement a payment gateway in one of your works, right? And you need a API license to be procured. With If you have a visibility in your system, you would know where is the procurement team and how much time will they take so that you can plan another work. Right? So you don't keep sending emails and checking what happened. But if you have a visibility in your system, you would yourself know and you can pick another work in its place if it's getting delayed. Right? So even the team interactions improve. Right? And as I said, be it Kanban, be it Scrum, or be it anything, do a backlog grooming activity as frequently as you can. A typical recommendation by books is one grooming activity every 2 weeks. But again, it depends upon kind of project you are on or kind of team you are. And if it's a very fast paced team, it could be a once a week as well. If it's a project like an infra, which takes where ticket sizes are big and it takes a lot of time, it can be done every 3 to 4 weeks as well. So again, it depends upon the kind of project you are doing. Okay. Any questions?
Not at this point, Shuchi, thank you.
Yeah, okay. To implement Kaizen, I think, as I said, Kaizen is not a one-time thing. It is a continuous process. It needs continuous maintenance. So, uh, in Scrum, we talk about retrospectives, right? It is also a way of Kaizen, right? It's a retrospective for your process. Similarly, you will have to pick up a time frame basis the kind of project again that you are doing, and you will have to decide that how you want to bring in changes. uh, Again, it cannot be a big bang. Kaizen cannot happen big bang. It will happen in blitzes. Blitzes is nothing but a small change at a time. Why do we recommend a small change? Any thoughts? Why we are always against big bang? Why do we always talk about small changes at given point of time? Why not big bang?
To minimize risk.
Okay. What else?
To have a faster delivery.
Yeah. Anything else?
I think humans can't cope with disruptive changes very well. There is a huge curve, the performance dips first, and then you reach that level of performance. So smaller changes are easy to consume.
Yeah, but one of the major reasons why we do small changes is because if you do too many changes in one go, you will never be able to identify what change brought the improvement.
Correct.
Yeah, that too.
Right?
Yeah.
For you to understand what is helping the team and what is bringing in the change, for that purpose, you need to do small changes in one go. If you do 10 things in one go, you will not know what made the change. So for you to understand the system more better, it is always recommended that it's a series of blitzes, not big bang. Okay?
Yeah, the other reason I could think of is the Big Bang approaches almost don't fly every time, right?
Yeah,
Because you
actually
will
big
not.
bang changes psychologically also brings you, at least I get very stressed. Okay, itna kaam karna hai types. No, it's
And also you will
soothing
not
as
have
well.
lessons to learn from others because you roll out changes in big. There is no experiment kind of stuff, right?
Yes,
Unless and
right.
until it's already proven and you know for sure it's going to fly. It's a different issue.
Yeah. Now the stages of implementation. First is to understand your system, where we have already spoken about identification of a workflow, understanding what is that needs a change. While you will be creating your workflow, you will have to understand what you will have that understanding that what needs to change, and then also identifying that what is the end goal, right? So for example, if you are a marathon runner, maybe you are doing 300 meters in maybe 30 seconds maybe, and your end goal is to do that 300 meters in 10 seconds or maybe something like that, right? So you need to identify a end goal where you want to come. You can't just fire the gun in the air without any aim. It needs to have a goal, right? So the first stage is identify what needs to change and what is the final goal that you need to achieve, and for that you need to involve your people. You cannot decide that in silos. In the fish game you saw, when you were doing it in silo, there were so many changes everybody could understand, but if you would have done this as part of a team, you guys would have come up with one concrete thing and you know done the similar kind of changes. Abhi everybody were running their own uh, in different directions. So the first goal is understand what needs to be changed. That would be part of your assessment, and that would be a inbuilt part while you're creating your workflow. Define your success parameters and understand your end goal. Second is, to achieve that end goal, you need to define your milestones. You will not re- reach A to Z from just in one jump. You will have A, E, K. You will have some milestones in between from to reach A to Z, right? So you need to define those milestones, and then while you are defining your milestones, you will have to time box कि हम कितनी देर में A से K तक जाएंगे, right? It needs to be time box. You cannot say, okay, I have to go A to K, but I don't know how much. Obviously, I'm not talking about estimates. I'm talking about time boxing. How are estimates and time boxing different? How is time boxing different from estimates?
Estimates can be in terms of man days, velocity points, something
Okay.
like that. Whereas time box, when do we start and when do we finish?
Time box is correct, but I really need, what is the difference between estimate and time box?
So
Estimate is,
estimation, yeah.
How long
So
does it take?
yeah.
Sorry,
Shuchi, I would say estimation would be just a rough estimate that to deliver these user stories or these tasks, I would require this amount of time. But this is not a sure shot. You can say time box. It might change. We might finish earlier. We might take more time. But when it comes to time box, it is a short definition that this is where we start and this is this is the end time by when we have to finish or complete it.
And when do you use estimate and when do you use time boxing? We
See,
have last 6
estimates.
minutes. I know Purva is
Yeah.
about to say that.
So I'll just quickly answer this question.
Yeah.
So estimates are basically when we are not sure about the you can say it's not known. You know, things are not known. The inputs and the outputs, the outcomes. So we are there's uncertainty in the definition of things that we have. But time boxing is when we are sure of what we have to deliver, and the user stories are properly defined. No.
It's other way around actually. You
Sorry.
can't estimate corona vaccine ka discovery. You can time box corona vaccine ka discovery. कि, okay, we have to find it till December, otherwise we are gone. That's time boxing. Estimate is when you know you have some information, right? Okay, I know this is how it will go about, and that's why I feel I can finish it in maybe 10 hours plus minus 10-15%. Time box is when we have no idea, but we decide ki, okay, we cannot keep on discovering that. We will have to time box it. Agar itne time mein if we are able to bring in some positive output, we will move ahead, otherwise we'll take a exit from here. That's when you time box. That's why all the POCs or all the prototypes that you create, they are time boxed, whereas user stories are always estimated. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so after you know what to change and what are the end goals, you start planning that these are the interim milestones, the things that you are not aware of, you time box them, and then you start identifying the risks and how you will mitigate them. Construction, next step is construction, that you execute the plan to achieve the milestone, and to your leaders or your peers, you start reporting how you are progressing and what is the level of change. So for example, typically all of you have been implementing agile implement karne se pehle, this is where we were taking 10 days to implement same thing, but after implementation of agile we have started doing it in 9 days. That's your reporting the progress and the benefit of agile, right? So then you start, that's where you're actually executing the plan and you're doing the construction work. Last but not the least, delivery, where whatever you are creating or whatever you are identifying to improve the change, you start showcasing the results of it, be it your project, be it just an improvement area, but you start showing the change that improvement area has brought in. And all these 4 steps again is a cycle. It's a continuous path, PDCA, that if you look at it, it's actually plan, do, check, act only, which you keep on doing till you achieve the end goal, right? And also you need to retrospect that are you going in the right direction, where your time boxing will come into picture. So for example, if you time box some A to K for 10 days, maybe you were not able to go back to you were not able to reach K, but you will still retrospect that what went wrong or how I could have done it better. Even every steps improve any need improvement, so that K se aage wala journey, onward journey thoda smooth rahe. Okay, any question on the stages? We just have 2 minutes left. Questions, guys?
Shuchi, a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Will you be sharing these slides to us?
I will.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm okay to maybe stay for a while after the session is complete, so I can maybe you can share your case studies.
Maybe what I will do is I will give you my email ID and I will also give you my number to everyone in case if somebody has, because obviously this is their Zoom and they might need it as well for anything. So you guys can reach out to me directly and I can take it, or maybe we can talk to the decorator, whatever. Yeah.
You say you're gonna share a case study.
Yes, and I will not be able to share the case study with all of you because that's confidential, but I would have walked you through. Maybe
no, yeah. Just like a high level information and things.
Yeah, that will work. That will work if you say that.
Okay. Quick tips. Talk to as many people as you can, involve as many people as you can, make sure everybody is involved. It is not done in silo. No improvement which is sustainable can be done when it is done by an individual. It needs to be done with everybody taken together. Provide training, tell them why you are doing it, why this needs to be done and how this needs to be done. You can't go back to your teams and say, let's do Kaizen, let's implement Kaizen without them knowing what's Kaizen and how to do it, right? Look for some early wins, look for some low hanging fruits, probably pick up something which is most easiest to change, right? Maybe just a naming convention of a file, यार कि कभी कभी मिलती नहीं है कौन सी फाइल कहाँ पड़ी है. So maybe the first quick thing could be, okay, let's look fix the naming convention so that it's easy to search. Everybody follows their own naming conventions, right? Attach the improvement areas to your KPI. Everybody needs carrot to implement something, so show them that carrot, right? So your improvement, that you identify, this Kaizen should be linked to the KPIs or the performance appraisals of the system. That's why these days you would have seen a lot of organizations have started implementing Agile in HR, and that's what they mean, right? Connecting KPIs with the improvements that we need in the projects. Okay. Some myths. With Kanban, you don't use iterations. It's absolutely optional. You can or you cannot use. In Kanban, we don't use the term iterations. We call it a cycle, right? So it's again optional. As I said, Kanban does not say bring in any kind of a chain. In your current system, if you have an iteration, just follow Kanban even then. Don't change anything, just bring in the visibility. With Kanban, you don't estimate. Again, it's optional. The intent is the end goal should be the ticket size or the user story size that you create should, by the time you mature, it should be of same size. The slicing should become same. Kanban is better than other tools. Kanban is not a tool. It's a process. It's a methodology. It's not a tool, right? Kanban is drop-in replacement to other tools. As I said, Kanban is not a tool. It is a method where you are visualizing your workflow and you learn to manage your workflow by removing the bottlenecks. Okay, any questions? We are done, actually. So this is what we have already stored. It needs plan, do, check, repeat till we have achieved our goal.
Maybe Shuchi, you can share your email if it's comfortable, so that if people have any questions, they can email you.
Yeah, it's on the screen. You can use there. I have my Twitter handle as well.
So because we are over with the time, and I just want to thank you everyone for joining the session, and especially Shuchi. And I'm really sorry for the technical issues at the start of the session. And guys, you can note down our email. And
yeah, I would also like to have is the feedback. Just let me know. I'm sure. Obviously, we rushed in the last minute, but please let me know the feedback, or if you want anything additional to be done.